results are good nonetheless.
Ripken going looking, a fastball in the inside corner. Fassero when his team needs him most.
Now we're going to move on to the Mariners portion, the part that I've been itching for. So to get a background, Jeff Fassero, and I said it earlier in the video, he was traded to the Seattle Mariners in 1996 after the 96 season to the Seattle Mariners from Montreal. And the trade package of that was he went to the Mariners with Alex Pacheco, if I've said that right.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Yep, and it was for Trey Moore, Matt Wagner, and Chris Widger. Chris Widger was a third-string catcher behind Dan Wilson. Matt Wagner was tried. They tried to use him in the starting rotation, did not work out, possibly due to the injuries. But yes, Jeff Fassero was added because it was the need to add to that starting rotation with Randy Johnson and Jamie Moyer, and also Bob Wolcott, who is another 95 hero of the Mariners. And going into 97, here were Jeff Fassero's numbers: 16-9 with a 3.61 ERA, 2 complete games, the 5 wins above replacement, and 234 innings pitched. And also on his very first playoff game, Game 3 of the American League Division Series against Baltimore, he won that game, retiring 18 in a row, secured the win, at least gave the Mariners hope to at least keep it close in the American League Division Series, but unfortunately, they would lose Game 4. Now, the first question is, what was it like playing in a starting rotation with Randy Johnson, playing with Jamie Moyer? You had a catcher in Dan Wilson, and the offense of Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, Alex Rodriguez, and Jay Buhner.
When I got traded there, my agents, the first thing they said is you're going to have probably the best offense you've had since the 94 team with the Expos. He goes, they're young, they're energetic. So I said, okay, perfect. And then the other thing that I liked about getting traded was I could get those innings because I didn't have to get pitch hit for in the 7th or 8th inning. So I could gain those extra innings. I had Edgar hitting for me every time I was out there pitching, which is a pretty good trade-off.
Big time.
It was a joy coming out there. I loved it. The team was great. I run into Griffey out here every once in a while in spring training. I haven't seen Jay in a while. Still trade Christmas cards with Dan. And I talked to Jamie Moyer a lot. Jamie and I got pretty close on the team. And I see Randy, because Randy lives in Arizona, every once in a while, but, he kind of sticks to himself. But the three of us had a pretty good relationship. We would go out, lunches and dinners before and after games. It's kind of hard to drag some of these guys out like Randy and Griffey because everybody knows who they are. If you're going to go out to dinner, we had to get private rooms all the time because you just get bothered, Yeah. But when you have Jay around, he just tells people to get out of there. Leave us alone. This is a private dinner. We're enjoying ourselves. You want our autographs, come to the baseball game and stuff like that. We'll sign there.
It's quite a story, yeah. I mean, with Junior, you see, if anyone sees Junior, it will never end. And it will just cause so much problems where, I mean, that's why you have guys like Jay Buhner, who is one of your most fearless leaders on the team.
Yes, he was.
And although as much as 97 was a fantastic season, a team that hit 264 home runs on the offensive side, a very solid starting rotation with Randy and Jamie and yourself. However, there was a difficulty with the bullpen. And yes, the bullpen was unfortunately known for giving up so many blown saves where if you actually even cut down half of those, Mariners would have easily been a 100-win team. So did it affect your mindset when the bullpen wasn't so hot and your starting rotation was expected to go pretty long innings? Did it change your mindset of how you would pitch? Did you feel the pressure to feel the need to pitch very well so that way it could leave some wiggle room for the bullpen?
I didn't look at it like that. I looked at, like I said, it was the same. I always had the same philosophy when I started in Montreal and carried it into Seattle. If I'm starting a game, I'm finishing the game, unless the manager comes out and takes the ball away. But if and that's his decision. But Lou was good. He'd come out and ask you, "What do you think?" And I said, "I still feel good. I think I can get through this inning." And but sometimes pitch counts did come into play, because there's sometimes I threw 130 plus pitches in games in Seattle at times. But I never really thought about in your mind it's there, but when I'm out there pitching, I'm not thinking about what's going to happen at the end of the game. I'm going to do my job the best I can, and then you just hope that they're going to click and do their job at the end of our games.
It was game 3. Now, actually, before we get into game 3, I want to talk about your feelings on when the Mariners won the division in '97, where they defeated the Anaheim Angels, because I understand that was actually your first playoff clincher. So take me to that. So after Slocum made that last strikeout, what was going through your mind? How did it feel?
Oh, it felt great. I mean, finally, after the disappointment in '94 and finally getting that taste of getting in the playoffs, and you're excited about it. I mean, it was a big party for us. Most of those guys had been there in '95, missed it in '96, missed it in '96, and we got back. They were just as excited as I was, because, I mean, you look at it, you go all season long, and no matter what you say, I don't care what team you play, you have one goal, that's to get the World Series. And first step's getting into the playoffs, and clinching the division, having that happen was like one of the most exciting things, and it's probably the best celebration, that first one, that you can have.
Oh yeah, definitely exciting. I mean, especially when it was definitely a disappointment they missed it in '96. And if anyone looks up the numbers of '96, the Mariners offense put up like very unprecedented numbers, but unfortunately, due to Randy being out, bullpen not being the best, they still missed the playoffs. And with a team like that, anyone would say, how did they not make the playoffs? Like when I was growing up as a kid, I was like, how did they not make the playoffs with that kind of team? But then once you get older, you understand you need pitching, you need basically everything else.
Everything's, for the most part, I mean, not everything's going to go right every game, but to make the playoffs, almost everything has to go right for at least 90, 92, 93 of the games.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And then Mr. Dixon actually has a question. I think it's a good question. How was the atmosphere playing at the Kingdome?
The Kingdome was like, when we were there, it was loud. When we were playing good and we were scoring runs and stuff like that, it was loud and it was fun. It echoed. I will say the only thing that I really didn't like about the Kingdome was that when you go in there, everything was gray. So it kind of reminded, I spent my first year, I spent the winter up there, and it was pretty much gray. So, you have a beautiful day in June, July, August, and you go in there and you go, oh, shoot, it's so nice outside. I wish we were outside. But
absolutely,
I enjoyed it. I think, like, I was a ground ball pitcher, so I never had to really worry about too many bad hops on the AstroTurf. I had the same luxury in Montreal too. I mean, yeah, the ball doesn't slow down because the grass isn't there, but I have no complaints with the Kingdome. I enjoyed pitching there.
I mean, that's good to hear, because I mean, Kingdome was known to be a hitter's park, but glad it worked out for you, especially where definitely a hitter's park, and a lot of hitters, they really did put a lot of home runs there. With Randy Johnson, game 1, he got absolutely bounced by Baltimore, especially by the bold decision made by Davey Johnson, where he did not start Rafael Palmeiro, and it did pay off to make it 9-3 victory on them. Then game 2, Mariners had a little bit of good start, scored 2 runs, but then Jamie Moyer's injury did not really help, and then they lost again 9-3. And what was your thoughts going into game 3, being down 2-0, knowing that if you lose one more game, you guys are going home.
Yeah, well, we went into Baltimore, had the day off, did our workouts, and did everything. My family came in, like wife and kids at the time. My mom and dad were there, and we went out to dinner that night, the night before the game, and was coming back into the hotel, and Lou was sitting at the bar. He called me over, told me to sit down and have a drink. And I go, Lou, I don't really drink before the night before I pitch. And he goes, hey, when your manager tells you to sit down and have a drink, you sit down and have a drink. I said, that's fine. My wife and I, we sat down and talked, and he was talking about the game. He goes, his thing was, what's the worst thing that happened tomorrow? You lose and we have to go home in 3, or you go out and win and we get to live and play for another day. I mean, he just made you feel relaxed. Just go out there and do what you can, and if I actually have a tape of that game, and a couple of years ago I watched it, and I looked at that first inning. I go, could have been a completely different thing if I didn't get out of that first inning. So I think I had bases loaded and 1 out and got a double play without them scoring. After that, I pitched pretty well. The second and third inning were not great, but after that, I think about the 4th inning, it got locked in, and it was easy. I mean, you're looking at their lineup. They had a good lineup too, but for some reason, it just got easy.
Definitely did. Yeah, I remember I watched that game, and I kind of feel bad that it's one of the more. It's not a game that everyone remembers because it's kind of hard to compete with the 95s, the 2001s. But I will show a really quick clip, and I have a few clips to show of the 97 game and here is the clip of Jeff Fassero striking out Cal Ripken Jr. Here it is in just a moment.
Results are good nonetheless.
Ripken gone looking, a fastball in the inside corner. Fassero when his team needs him most.
God, I look young back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that Lou Piniella story with you guys sitting at the bar and him saying that. And I think Lou kind of has this perception of being hard, a bit of a hard ass and stuff with certain things. But I think that's what made Lou Piniella so special is, he could go off the rails, but that I think that's just a perfect little speech for a manager to his player before a game. Like, what's the worst going to happen? You know what I mean? And just to sit down with you and have that conversation, I think is just such a cool story.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's one I'll always remember. I was lucky because when I started coaching again, he was working with the Reds organization, so I got to hang out with him some more. While he's out here for spring training. It's nice to hang out with those guys, and then every once in a while I go down and see Felipe. Well, not the last couple of years because I don't think he's been here. When he was with the Giants, because that's who I had in Montreal for 5 of the years. So it was always nice to see those two guys because I was probably closest with those two as my managers of all the teams that I played on.
Any other Lou Piniella stories that can be shared if you have any good ones? I love that bar story. That is great.
That's a great story.
Any other, because Lou's a character.
You guys had to see all the good ones. Did you see the best one? I mean, the whole bench in Cleveland when he did the kick, the hat.
Kicks the hat. Griffey's laughing.
Everybody, our whole bench was dying. It was like the funniest thing we've ever seen. And he just gets up and walks back in pissed off.
Yeah, I always feel like that just sometimes the players got to know the manager's got your back. He may know the call was correct or something, but it's just it got everybody laughing, having a good time, and sometimes that's what you need to keep you loose.
Yeah, I mean, he had an edge to him, but I mean, he was a very fair manager. He would tell you what it's like and what it's about. Some people can handle it, some people can't. I mean, with managers and stuff like that. But I would go out there and play for him again right now.
I mean, I would definitely love
in an over 60 and older league. Nothing young.
I would definitely love Lou Piniella back on the Mariners. Like, it's us as a Mariners fan base. He's definitely one of the managers that we absolutely miss the most. And I remember, like, when he got traded away to Tampa, like, the pain was just it was well felt because he was one of those firm but fair, and those are actually the best managers who knows how to do that, where they are firm and they do tell you like what is going on, but also they do a good job connecting with the players too.
Yes, they do. I mean, he let us run our clubhouse. The players ran it. If he needed to come in, he would come in when he needed to come in. But for the most part, he just let us run the clubhouse and police ourselves, which is, when you have a manager who does that, that's always nice, because that just makes your team tighter because we're policing ourselves.
Yeah, self-accountability.
Keeping everybody accountable for what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's why we definitely miss a lot about Lou Piniella. And now going back to game 3, we're going to show a clip where the bases were loaded in the first inning, bottom of the first, and here is exactly what happened.
B.J. Surhoff on the ground. Fassero can't find it. Throws to first, and they got him at first.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when that all happened, especially when you couldn't find the ball for like at least a couple seconds?
It was bringing flashbacks back to my no-hitter in Montreal. Same thing happened. I didn't find the ball and didn't get the guy out in time.
Oh.
It's like it hit the inside of my foot, so I knew it had to be somewhere close, and I wasn't sure if it popped up first or if it stayed on the ground. Once I looked down on the ground, it was there. I'm just glad B.J. Surhoff wasn't Alomar at the time.
Or at least Brady Anderson or any of them like that.
Somebody was a little faster.
I mean, because I play softball too. I play softball as well, and I also pitch. And if something like that happened to me, I would have just completely just lost it. And I definitely commend you for your high level of concentration that you're still able to get the man out, because it definitely made a huge difference. Because I think if one run scored, I think the game would have played out differently, just a little bit.
Differently, yeah.
Yeah. And after,
is it bad that watching that, the nerve, even though I know the results, I'm like going back to my childhood watching him, like, Jeff, it's right there, get it, grab it, throw it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even
the infielders are yelling at your foot. It's at your foot. It's at your foot. So eventually you get there.
I wanted to ask you. You had mentioned that first inning. You got into a little trouble there, bases loaded, and got out of it. I always feel like for pitchers, sometimes the first inning, you're finding your command, you're finding yourself. You get out of that with 0 runs, and you did kind of touch on this, but how much of that just kind of settle you down? Like, okay, got out of it, we're good, and then go right back out there with that mindset.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I will tell you that going out to that first inning, I was nervous. There were butterflies because I'd never done that before, so it wasn't something like I knew exactly what's going on. And so you get a little nervous. You don't have the command and control that you want to have that first inning, and you just survive. And for me, at that point, it was just survive the first inning and then go from there. And luckily enough, I survived it without any runs. So there was no, which was big for us.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're thankful that we got to hear your actual perspective on that, because I watched that like all the time, and I'm thinking, how did he do that? What went through it? And now I'm glad we got the explanation. And now we have a fan here that is asking this: what was your plan to strike out Cal Ripken Jr. or minimize his impact on the game, including an offense that had Roberto Alomar, Rafael Palmeiro, Jeffrey Hammonds, Geronimo Baroa? Like, what was that plan other than the whole dinner with Lou Piniella?
Well, the thing about, we had game plans back then. We knew weaknesses, we knew swing tendencies of guys like that, and I know that Ripken was a guy that didn't like the ball inside very much. And once I got ahead of him with 2 strikes, I was never afraid to pitch inside. So I went to what was considered his weakness. So my philosophy was, you have hitters that get in certain counts, and if you know their weaknesses and you can exploit it, that's what you do, and I can do that. I was very good at pitching inside to right-handers.
Definitely useful for that, because knowing that I play softball, like my biggest goal is always pitch them inside, because it will hit the skinny part of their bat and it'll cause the pop-ups. So yeah, it's definitely useful to be able to do that. And
sometimes going on to that, when you're facing like somebody like McGuire or Albert Pujols, somebody that's big and strong, powerful, it's better off to pitch them inside, let them hit it to the third baseman instead of back at you.
Yeah, the big barrel of the bat will definitely do it. I've been hit before. It ain't fun.
No. Well, after the game, the first inning after the game where I got hit in the foot there, I took off my shoe in the clubhouse and I had a big bruise on my foot.
Oh,
I didn't feel it the whole game. I had no idea it was there.
Right.
Because of the adrenaline that's going through you. But when I looked at it, I go, wow, that's pretty black right now.
And it didn't really seem to matter, because you did retire 18 in a row. And here is a clip of you getting that 18th batter in a row. And now, fun fact, right before that, it was Brady Anderson right before that, where he nearly hit that home run, which I guess I might as well ask you about that. But here is that quick clip of his 18th batter in a row retired. Check it out.
111 pitches, the fourth highest total in the American League. So he's giving him what he's got left here.
And he has another 1-2-3 inning. Fassero has retired 18 consecutive batters.
Wow, I got another Hall of Famer out.
Right? That was Almar. Yeah.
Getting him out was big, because he has pretty good numbers against me, I think, throughout the career. I had trouble getting him out, especially when he went from I had more success getting him out right-handed, but then he started hitting left-handed off me, and he would find that hole over there and stuff, where basically about where he hit the ball right there. But it's weird, because I would talk to him. I go, switch hitter, why are you hitting left-handed off me now? He goes, because I don't see the ball off your right hand. I see it better when I'm hitting left-handed.
I was going to ask that, because I know, watch that clip, I'm like, why is he hitting left-handed off?
Yeah.
But there you go. Good to know. The lineups back then in the 90s were, I was joking with Rooftop. We were talking the other day, and like in every sport, offense has gone up. Football offense has gone up. Basketball offense has gone up. Baseball is the one sport where offense has kind of gone down. You look at those lineups back when you were pitching, even the 9-hole hitters, maybe at least on the good teams, they were hitting 275 with 19 home runs, it seems like, back then. So, what was that like, pitching in that era, where, guys were hitting 50 home runs regularly, it seemed like.
Yeah, the difference too, the guys that hit, even you look at Junior, who hit 50 home runs, he still hit 300. These guys that are hitting 45 home runs, 50 home runs nowadays, they're hitting 210. They're really not, productivity of runs being scored compared to how runs were scored back in our day. I mean, like you said, the 9-hole hitter back in the day, like we had Joey Corey hit 9/4, and I think he hit like 270 that year. He did put the ball in play and got on base. He was basically another table setter for Alex, Edgar, and Junior at the time. You have, coming out of that 9th hole, if he's on base and leadoff hitter's on base. I don't even remember who was the leadoff hitter at the time back then. I'm trying to think.
For the Mariners?
Yeah. Who did we have?
Mariners. It was Roberto Kelly in 97.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, you got those guys get on base in front of Alex, Junior, and Edgar. We're getting runs.
Yep.
For sure. But I mean, you look at the teams that were winning. I mean, the White Sox had a great lineup too. When I saw them for the first time, like, wow, because
Albert Bell and Frank Thomas.
Yeah, and that it's tough. It was completely different. I mean, at least when I was pitching in the National League at the time, there was no DH, so it basically had an out at the bottom of the order as long as you didn't make a dumb mistake.
Yeah.
So,
like giving up a home run.
I did that to Smoltz. Smoltz hit one off me.
Oh,
and he hit it
he
hit it the other way too, which was kind of shocking.
Oh my gosh.
Thought it was a good pitch down and away. I think he was just late on it and caught it good.
It just happened to catch it.
Yeah, I might have hit his bat instead of him hitting the ball.
There you go. You supplied the power for him.
Definitely. Now I'm looking at, I actually took the time to look at the stats, and Roberto Alomar, he hit 474 with a 524 on base percentage. So
told you he hit me pretty good.
He did. That will totally do it.
He's the only Hall of Famer that hit me really good. If you go back and look at some of these guys, like Tony Gwynn didn't hit me very well. Walker didn't hit me well. Frank Thomas didn't hit me well. Bagwell didn't hit me well. I don't think Cal Ripken hit me very well either. But,
wow, it's like, I should probably look that up sometime. And
yeah,
and if I do, that will definitely up the appreciation of that. Yeah, you were able to get some of those big boys down.
I mean, I know what Gwynn had a 330 lifetime batting average. I think he hit somewhere around the 270, 280 off me, maybe. So it's well below his average.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a batting average that many baseball players are now trying to maintain. Like if you're a 270, 280 hitter today, you're considered like a very consistent player. Back in those days when I remembered, you were like, maybe an average player at the very best.
Yeah, I mean, you look at team batting averages back in the day. Like when we were playing team batting averages, I mean, a low one might be 250.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you got 220s and 230s.
Now they're creeping into below 200 as a regular player, and could be someone's all-star too, unfortunately. Yeah. So also, go ahead.
Oh, go. I do want to ask, because you talked about getting a lot of those Hall of Famers out. Was there any hitter that wasn't that just gave you fits besides John Smoltz? Was there any hitter that you just were just like, I don't understand why I can't get this guy out?
Yeah, there's two guys. They didn't have a lot of bats off me, but John Jaha for the Brewers and Chad Allen with the Twins. I mean, they only have maybe 10 to 12 bats off me, but I mean, they probably had 7 or 8 hits off me too. They were something that I couldn't figure out what to do to get them out. But those are the two.
Jaha was a good hitter.
Yeah. Jay Bell hit me pretty good, but not like those two guys hit me. I mean, I think Jaha might be 7 for 10 and Allen might be 8 for 10.
Yeah.
At least Jay Bell I get out once in a while. As far as
once in a while, yeah.
Oh, and Jeff Kent gave me fits too.
Oh, Jeff Kent.
Yeah.
And he had one on Barry Bonds too in 2002.
What's that?
They had a feud with each other. Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent had that feud.
Yeah.
But going back to the game 3, because we still have a couple more questions. So I remember before that 18 in a row that was done, Brady Anderson nearly hit the home run off of you, but luckily it just trailed just foul. Was there anything that was going through your mind or any of the players' thoughts when Brady Anderson nearly at least made it a 1-run game?
Yeah, no, I mean, you just, when it's hit down the line, you're just hoping it's going to have a hook or slice on it. And, if in Colorado, that probably would have stayed fair. But in Baltimore, where you have humidity and stuff, where it's going to catch the seams, it's going to keep the spin going so that it will
definitely
make it curve more.
Yeah, definitely. And then after that inning, which I'll explain, Jay Buhner and Paul Sorrento hit their back-to-back home runs, which was like a breath of fresh air because the Mariners' offense was unfortunately handled very well by Baltimore. And it was 4-0. And then Jeff Fassero gets the ball going into the 9th inning to hopefully finishes the game. And then this happens.
3-0 pitch. And it's ball 4 to Moreau. And that's going to be it for Fassero. Lou Piniella comes walking out of the Mariners' third base side dugout. They have their closer, Heathcliff Slocum, ready in the bullpen. Piniella has not made the official decision yet, and now he does.
of course, us fans were like, no, keep him in. It was just one hitter. I would have been like that if I was at least old enough. But yeah, I saw you were putting your hand on
Well, I
your head
know
like,
because I think if you look at the numbers, I think I was like at 140 pitches at that point, and it was the right thing to do at that time. There was no reason. I mean, I did what I needed to do too, and Lou knew it. And, Lou was probably just as like, which way do I want to go with this? Leave one of my top pitchers in or go to the bullpen? But, in my opinion, he made the right decision at that time.
Fortunately, it eventually worked out. And although Slocum did give up the 2 runs, he eventually did get out of it against Harold Baines, who actually hit very well against Slocum. It was like a 500 something batting average. And then in just 2 pitches, he hits a pop up to A-Rod, and the game ended. And then it seemed that winning that series actually didn't seem that crazy of an idea, because although, yes, down 2-0, not only yourself, solid, very good pitcher, then you had Randy Johnson on 3 days rest, where they actually still showed the statistic that Randy Johnson on 3 days rest was actually a more effective pitcher than Mike Mussina. So had you won game 4, maybe game 5, would have had that confidence to close that door, because Mussina wouldn't have been available anyway because he was already been used. But unfortunately, the season ends in 97 with a Jay Buhner grounder. And what were the thoughts and feelings, and what was like the atmosphere like in that clubhouse after that game and series?
I mean, it was disappointment. I mean, we played so well all year long, and to have that, you're going in there, you have high expectations. We had 3 very good starters. I mean, I know they had Mussina, they had Jimmy Key. I forget who their other pitcher was at the time. So, it's going to be a tough match. It's going to be a tough series. But, we felt like with our offense that we were going to be able to score at least 5 runs a game off of them. And they pitched the shit out of the ball too. So it was tough for us.
It definitely was. And had you guys won that series, like let's say you made that miracle comeback, which I think would have been much more impressive than the 95 comeback. Do you guys think you would have had enough juice to get through Cleveland and then supposedly get through the Marlins? Like, do you think you guys would have had anything left to finish the job to get that World Series, in your opinion, at least?
Well, I think it would have came down to how bad Jamie Moyer was hurt. Don't know if he could have pitched game 5 if Randy would have won that game, or if we were going to have to piece it together, or I guess it could have been Walcott or Kenny Cloud starting that last game.
I heard it was Kenny Cloud. Lou Piniella was talking about it was going to be Kenny Cloud.
Yeah, I think that's who it was, because nobody really knew about how bad Jamie was. I think if we get through that game, we might have had a chance to get through Cleveland. I mean, we would have had, because then I would, even if Jamie couldn't have been, at least I could have started game 1 of that series, and then Randy could have probably followed me by that time, because you would have off days going into those series. So it would have put Randy and I back, and then, and at that point you're going, it's been almost a week for Moyer. Maybe he's ready to go again. So, I mean, we had good 3, but then you just, like you've always, all you guys have talked about is like leaving it down to the bullpen. But, it's a complete team game, and you got to believe in each other. And that was the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And now to think of it, maybe beating Cleveland wouldn't have been as crazy as an idea as well, because there would have been that source of motivation, since Cleveland did defeat the Mariners in 95. Maybe there would have been that little bit of a revenge factor, and that they kind of did just grind through the Yankees. So maybe anything could have been possible, but unfortunately, we'll never know.
I mean, and you look at that time, Cleveland's bullpen wasn't a stellar bullpen that year either.
Yeah, Jose Mesa. I mean, and that was Jose Mesa in his like more of like his downward trend, because it seemed that after 95 and 96, he wasn't the same. And I looked at his numbers and his moments. So maybe, who knows, if could have pulled it off. Would have been nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was just, it was a letdown. You play so well all year long and you're out in the first series. I mean, St. Louis, at least I made it to the second series. I think we would have won that one if Scott Rowland didn't get hurt. That was a big blow to us in St. Louis.
That was the 2002 series, wasn't it, against the Giants in the NLCS? Yeah.
Yeah. Scott got hurt the last game against the Diamondbacks.
No, that wouldn't have helped. No.
He had that collision and it messed up his shoulder, and I think that hurt us. Definitely hurt us defensive wise, but it also took a pretty good bat out of our lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason, so that'll definitely do it. And well, maybe we'll get more into that 2002 season, because I did look up your stats, and that was also when you caught fire as well in the bullpen. But before we get into that, let's talk about the experience of Safeco Field in 1999. And Jay Trident Podcast, this one's all yours.
Yeah, it's random or weird, I should say, to have a stadium open mid-season, versus starting a season new ballpark. What was that like, going from playing games in the Kingdom, then the next day you're at a whole new ballpark playing?
Yeah, I mean, it was different. I mean, but at the time, you're going out there in the middle of the summer, and everybody in Seattle probably loved it. The stadium was beautiful at the time it was built. It was completely different. I mean, if you look at the team, built power, home runs, and now all of a sudden we've gone into a stadium that we might have needed a little more speed and maybe a little less power at the time. But, I mean, who are you going to get rid of off of that team? You're not going to get rid of Buhner. You're not going to get rid of Edgar. You're not going to get rid of Junior. You're not going to get rid of Alex. I mean, but because, I mean, it was a death trap for those guys, though, as far as home runs and stuff go. But I think it's a big change when you go, like, you're playing half your games in the Kingdom, and then you're going to play your other half outside in a new stadium. It's a completely different thing. And, at the time, like I said, I don't know if we had a team built for the outside at that time.
I agree. That's something, I hadn't really thought about that with that team, but you went from, I mean, not only to a literal different ballpark that just, almost changes the way you need to be built. And another thing that makes baseball so unique is that the ballpark matters for how you build a team. There's no other sport that has that, where you have to think about the dimensions and everything with how you want to build your team.
Yeah, it's completely different, for baseball. I mean, you see it nowadays too. I mean, you look at like Cincinnati Stadium small, Philadelphia Stadium small, and they're built for both those teams built for power and home runs. I mean, have they moved the fields in at Safeco?
They did for the 2013 season. They moved it in,
and they've left them in, right?
They left them in there since.
Yeah, so I mean, they've made it a little smaller. They did the same thing in Detroit. I mean, originally Detroit Stadium was big. They moved the fences in, and so you're building teams different.